Hey there and welcome to another Sonic Academy video with me, Phil Johnston. You may or may not have heard, but Spotify are going to be releasing a high quality option on their streaming platform, and there has been some debate as whether you are going to be able to hear that or not on your normal sort of home system, and whether people's ears are actually tuned in enough to sort of notice the difference between a decent quality MP3 and a lossless wave. There is a website that you can go to, and I'll show you that in a second, where it plays lossless files versus MP3 files from Spotify, and it does a wee test, and you can check whether or not you're going to be able to hear the difference. Now, Chris has asked me to do this, and I am not particularly confident because I'm pretty sure my ears don't go above about 14 kilohertz anymore, just from lots of years of DJing and loud studio listening, but we're going to give it a go anyway. The studio I'm in is actually a really nice setup. So we've got a set of Holland speakers that were designed specifically for this room. They are full range. It's been completely tuned from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. It's basically flat. It's the best room I've ever been in, and it's basically perfect. So if there's any room that we're going to be able to hear it in, it's going to be this one. So let's go over and we'll have a look and see what the test is. So this is the test. And this is going to test whether we can hear the difference between the Spotify version, or the regular Spotify version, and the Spotify HQ version.
Hi guys, Chris here. So I'm going to test out this lossless audio test here in my studio. Now I've got decent enough speakers. I'd say, probably towards the higher end of studio monitors. Not 10 grand ones like Phil, but I mean these are $2,000 Dyne Audio BM15s. Pretty weighty speakers for a home studio. I've also got a decent amount of acoustic treatment in the room. The room isn't perfect by any means, and there's no offset walls or anything, but we've got 4 rail traps. I've got some bass Viz acoustic stuff. We've got treatment on the roof. We have got Viz acoustic stuff on the walls, and I've also got diffusers on the back walls. So anything coming out of here is getting diffused at the back. So it should be, semi-decent. A listening environment. It's probably a really good home studio setup. So I mean, we're going from Phil's, which is a really good studio setup, to mine, which is a good decent home studio setup, to Protoculture's Nate's, who's probably a decent studio setup. So we are covering all 3 here. So I'm going to have a listen, see if I can spot anything, and then come back to you with some conclusions.
So just about to kick off this test. Just for reference, I'm sitting in my home studio. It's fairly well treated, not completely isolated. I'm monitoring off a set of Genelec 8040A monitors. I've had these for about 18 years and I know them really, really well. I also have a pair of Sennheiser HD600s that I can listen back on as well. So let's get this going. I'm going to kick off this test. Okay, Spotify HQ edition. Let's go for it. We'll do 5. And let's get going.
Okay, so I'm ready to do this test. I'm going to do the short test, just to rattle through it. Now, I suppose caveat is my ears are possibly not the greatest after 10 years of DJing around the world in large clubs, so that could have something to do with it. But let's have a listen and see where we are.
Okay, so we'll just do the 5 trials. So because of the copyright thing, we're not going to be able to hear this, so I'll just run through that and give you an indication as to whether I can actually hear the difference.
I think that's particularly hard, that one, just because the program material is just so sparse. I'm trying to listen to bottom end, transients, top end, sibilants, reverbs. That one was a pure guess, just because the program material was so sparse. Also, like it's not consistent, so the rim shot seems to have had a different velocity. The vocal goes up and down. There was one part where the vocal sounded a bit muffled, and went, can you hear that? And then listened to A and B, and they were both muffled, and I was like, right, so that's in the song. And you went there, then to X. That I just utterly guessed. Daft Punk next. This is probably a really, really high-end recording, so, you know, if we're going to hopefully maybe hear something here, I don't know. Okay, that, I think I got that one. That seemed, there was definitely, it was just like this sort of very, very sparkly top end and a width that appeared that you could, one sounded slightly sparklier and wider, more air, and the other one sounded kind of bottom end exactly the same. Things I'm looking for, does the bottom end sound the same? Do the transients on the snare sound the same? Does the sibilance of the vocals sound the same? Do the hats sound the same? Reverb, listen to reverb and width. Does that, and you're trying to compare that. I think that one, I felt like I could hear a difference. I'm not too sure. Let's try Hotel California. Okay, again, I think a little more open in the top, a little wider. Transients, vocals, bottom end, all sounded the same to me. Just a little, I don't know, something in the top. Again, I could be wrong. And I felt the whole way through that this has always felt like loads of bees at the moment, so...
Okay, so they have it, 68%. It's super interesting to see that. The only one that I could clearly kind of, well, I say clearly, but it's not incredibly clear. The one that I could hear the most difference between the two and the most sort of obvious artifacts in the track was the Killers mix. The James Blake track, that's pure guessing. I can't tell the difference there at all. But it's interesting to see, though, because it seems to be that my sort of focus listening to the tests was predominantly sort of around listening to those highs, particularly sort of in the hi-hats, like the extreme high-end stuff, and just listening for slight variations in depth in the track. You can sometimes hear a slight difference between the two, and switching between A and B, trying to discern what that is, and then quickly flicking between the sort of test track or X or whatever to try and see which one caused a slight shift once you, in your head, kind of located what the area of problem was. So my thoughts as well with one of the sort of biggest giveaways was the Killers track sounded to me like a lot more compressed and a lot louder. So it seems to me that when you are pushing a lot of compression, quite a fat sounding master, that it's maybe more susceptible to artifacts, which would make sense when you are mastering. That's one of the reasons why you kind of back off on the limiter. You don't want to be pushing it at zero because you can cause artifacts in the conversion process. But as soon as you go into acoustic territory, or when there's a lot more dynamics, as there was in the other tracks, particularly the James Blake one, there's nothing for me to latch onto there at all. Dixie Chicks particularly hard as well. I was surprised with that one because I felt that there was a lot more high-end stuff in the sort of acoustic guitars that I might have picked out on, but it's super close. So I can't say that I have any sort of confidence in picking up between the Spotify codec and lossless formats. Cool, there you have it.
Okay, so here are the results. I did actually do this before, and I got 56 correct last time, which is kind of weird. I got all the Daft Punk ones right. I actually felt like I could hear the Daft Punk ones better than any of the other ones. The Eagles, the James Blake one, that's pure guessing. I couldn't hear any difference between any of them. The Killers, I thought I could maybe hear something sometimes in the top end. The Eagles, I just couldn't hear anything, and the Dixie Chicks, I couldn't hear any difference. So, I genuinely thought I could almost hear something in the Daft Punk. It was initially I was kind of listening for top end stuff, and I couldn't really hear any difference in the top end stuff. And then I was sort of listening to the low end, how deep the low end got, and I just felt like in the Daft Punk one, when I had the sort of lower kick drums, you were getting sort of a more defined low end, maybe, but you know, it's so like minuscule. You know, even with me like super focusing on it, I had no real confidence that I was, you know, picking the right ones as such. So I think for most people, you're probably not gonna hear much of a difference. But apparently there seems to be a difference there. If I was confident that the Daft Punk one I could hear something, but the other ones I couldn't. So I guess it also depends on the type of music you're listening to, maybe. Is it worth upgrading? Does it make that much difference? No, I don't think so. I don't really think it makes any difference at all. I'd be more than happy to continue listening to regular Spotify. Although I do like the idea of, because I do sort of a lot of referencing and stuff of it, so maybe in that, you know, if you're making music and I would record streams off Spotify and put them into Metro B and do some referencing that way. So if you're getting lossless quality there, maybe that would make a difference. But other than that, I don't think so. But there you go. That's my test results. You can see them again there. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Back to you, Chris.
Okay. So there you go. 44% correct. So less than half of them I got right. Daft Punk, which I thought I could hear, I only got 40%. Eagles, which that was more guess, really. That was 80%. Dixie Chicks, no clue. James Blake, genuinely no clue whatsoever. And Killers, 40%. I think my conclusion with these things is the Killers probably could hear something. It's so compressed and not loads of dynamics. Once that gets converted, you can start to hear something. But the likes of the James Blake, very sparse material in here. If you can't hear it in here, I'm wondering, can people actually hear it? It could be my ears. It could be this room isn't perfect. You know, we have sonar works going, we have acoustic treatment. It is as best as a listening environment as I can kind of make it without going into tens of thousands of pounds. So most people are going to be listening on Amazon Echoes, AirPods, or Bluetoothing it in their car. So if you're a real high-end audiophile, absolutely go for it. I won't be, even for listening to stuff in here, 320's good enough for me. I can't hear any difference in bass, any difference in transients. It's maybe a little bit wider, a little bit more sparkle sometimes, but then you're going, is it actually? It's not a big enough difference for me to be actually going, yeah, this is cool. It's not like going from 1080p to 4K on a TV. That's kind of where I'm at. So hope you found that useful, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate all the support from you guys. If you love this video, then smash a like, and if you want to be notified about new videos, hit the subscribe and notification buttons. Peace!